Excuse me, I have a couple more minutes. I had a number of claps there. I asked this question, and this is the most important part of my statement. Is the 2019-20 Lewis and Clark student receiving a better education? That's too bad, because this was very important.
Good evening. My name is Ward, and I'm just an old man who lives down the lane. And I've learned a few things in my life journey, and I've been part of decisions where older, experienced people were thrown aside for the new and young and cheaper. And every time I've seen that happen in my life, the money saved ended up going down the drain by the mistakes and the stupidity of the young and energetic who don't know anything. I've heard the words and I've seen the ideas, and now I see the decision that you're about to make. And in my world, they don't jive. And the only thing that stands between me and a decent taste in my mouth, which is currently foul, is a lack of principle and integrity. I hope you can live with the horrific decision you're going to make, because there isn't a person in this room tonight who has not shared plenty of justification for that young man to keep his job. Oh, okay. Dale? Sir.
I'm Sam Roberts. I'm a local Ford dealer, and other dealers in the area like myself sell a lot of trucks. You know who the biggest buyers on trucks are? These guys right back here, these construction workers. So they kind of stole some of my thunder already tonight. How do you think they're going to feel about the opportunity of this $37 million renovation project going away if something happens to Dr. Chapman? You know, I've talked to a lot of legislators, and when you award money like that, a lot of it goes to a business or to a corporation or to an institution like the college because of the leadership and the record that that leadership has. You know, you're not going to go out and give somebody $1 million that you don't know what they're going to do with it. They know what Dale and his team's going to do with that. They're not happy about losing the opportunity of this job of $37 million, because all these ladies and gentlemen back here, that labor is going to be a big chunk of that. And the biggest part of that money they earn is going back into the economy, whether it's houses, washing machines, cars, whatever it is, it's going back in our economy in the Riverbend area. So we need to keep the competent leadership with Dale Chapman. You know, he attracts more money to the Southern Illinois region than he costs us. Don't cripple the region's economy, putting the $37 million and countless construction jobs at risk. Like everybody else that says, you got a win-win situation here. You said you were going to lower administrative costs. Dale says he's reasonable to negotiate. It's a win-win for both of you. And you know, a lot of this stuff is, they talk about Dale and talk about Linda, and Dale comes up to our place once in a while for an oil change. We hire a lot of Lewis and Clark Community College students, both men and women, work part-time in a place. We hire out of the auto mechanics place, okay? We had a couple of guys there, been a year. One of them come up there the other day, he says, "You're not gonna believe what happened to me today." I said, "What's the matter?" He says, "Dr. Chapman from the college came back to my work stall and asked me how I was doing and if I knew how I'd like my job." And he says, "Lewis and Clark prepared me well for this job." So this guy lives his business 24/7, 365. He doesn't go on the clock. But believe me, he's one of the greatest assets we got in the Riverbend area. We can't afford to lose him. Thank you.
Donna Eaglehoff, nursing, Lewis and Clark Community College nursing program. Since 1992, Dr. Dale Chapman has never negotiated a contract. He asked the board for a contract, not an extension or an amount. And the board of four is punishing a man that did nothing anyone else would do but sign contracts that was set before him in the past. The action item on the agenda is written ambiguously. There is not any professional consideration. I highly recommend a board member amend action item AA by striking out whether to extend and insert negotiations for. Mr. Russ, on the agenda, you may want to defer discussion X on the. This board has an opportunity and an obligation to listen what the needs and wants are and to do what's right tonight. However, I pity the chairman and the new board members. I honestly feel that you are incapable of seeing past the platform that you have set yourself on. Your pattern of gaslighting and narcissistic behavior cannot be reasoned with. And in the end, we all suffer. I'm sure you're not concerned, but know that it is extremely difficult to be the light in the presence of your darkness.
I'm working at manages some initiatives. One of the initiatives there that also came up with the American Initiative. So I took a little bit. The last 6 years, the students were doing service for America, over 50,000 hours of service in our community. I think that alone deserves some 1,000 hours of service. Those students earned over $200,000 in AmeriCorps awards. They are able to use for 7 years to go to college. Most of our student generation college students, they are earning those awards, raising them to college, and they're changing not just their futures, but generations. Not just families, and Dr. Dale matters. So.
My name is Ambrose, and thank the Lord you've been here tonight. Thank you, board members. I mean, folks are going out of your way to not pay for this job. You're getting a lot of. By here tonight, you're not much a plus. And anyway, I think we have to look at the picture here. Look at our state. Look at all, for example, 50% of most people are people. I mean, taxpayers. Sure, you folks out here, these folks out here, construction at the college, they're all making good money. But what about the average person? What about the average Joe? Can't even afford. Look at our state. If Chapman's a good leader, I can work on that. That's not a good example for our students. What about the people as a whole? I mean, I just trustees, I'll be myself, for working for reimbursement and average. And I know you're here just to try to be a help to the community, and those that have spoke tonight are not a help to the community. They're thinking of their own self. They're all thinking of their own self. It's kind of like a hypocrisy, I think.
Just like to thank the board for the public comment time this evening. I appreciate it. I'm glad to have it at the beginning of the meeting again. I'm a faculty member in the music department and could speak at length about all this, but there's no point. Everything that needs to be said has already been said, except maybe by the last gentleman. I'll read some statements instead. I asked this question: is the 2019-2020 LC student receiving a better education than a student did prior to Dr. Chapman's presidency? If the answer is yes, then his contract should be renegotiated. If it's not, then his tenure should end. Has the board asked that question to the administration, to the professors and instructors, to the community who hire and employ these students and graduates? Have you asked that question to the most important of all, the students, present day and alumni? If their answer is yes, that the educational process, the atmosphere, and the resulting graduations continue to improve, then your discussion of non-negotiating Dr. Chapman's contract is ill-advised at best, and in actuality is a gross misconduct of your infancy powers. 27 years versus 5 months. I ask you tonight to postpone your decision, table the negotiation vote until you have a better understanding of the negative trickle-down effects this decision will have on the entire LC region. Govern what you know and understand. Please don't begin to the possible downward trend of this institution using the guise of conservative fiscal responsibility. Thank you.
Dan Sheeter, Brighton, Illinois. I promised my sons I would not say a word, but that's not going to happen. Sorry, I got a little revved up. But I remember attending a University of Illinois function, and it was at Pure Marquette, and Dr. Chapman was there, and just newly appointed Provost Easter, who I used to work for, sat down next to me, and he was talking. Do you think we are actually going to get this Great Rivers thing to go? Dr. Chapman, how many people are employed there, and how many students a year go there to learn?
Around 35 people employed there, and a lot of students come through it.
A joint function between you and the University of Illinois, and who else?
15. I'm not sure I'm supposed to comment during the public comment section. But
Well, I just want everybody to know he goes way above and beyond what he's ever wanted to do. He has made so many observations around here. The man kind of struck my nail is, I don't think you can predict, and I learned this at Lewis and Clark and the University of Illinois, that your liabilities does not show your profitability. I look at here, and every year he's increased my assets here. He's put buildings here, employed these guys, gave them jobs, sent their kids to school here. He alone, with his joint college degree, has saved me, 2 years college right off the top. You know, I don't understand. It seems like you have a witch hunt or an axe to grind, but you really need to find somebody else. And they're... I'll guarantee you there's probably not a tighter man in this room than myself. I drive a truck till it falls apart. You know, Roberts Ford would starve to death on the vehicles I'd buy. So thank you, Dr. Chapman, and thanks for sharing your thoughts with everybody.
My name's Lori Keithy. I teach here at Lewis and Clark Community College. And I contemplated whether I wanted to speak or tell my little story, but after the comments before preceding Peter Hussey, I felt the need that I do really need to make this statement. My husband and I own rental properties here in Alton, and we have a lot of tenants, a lot of them low income. And we did have this particular tenant who had been on Section 8 housing assistance for most of her adult life. She attended Scott Bibb. This is a single mother of two who was getting food stamps, Medicaid, housing assistance. She went to Scott Bibb, and in February she got a job. And in May, she let us know that she no longer qualified for Section 8 housing. She no longer qualified for LINK. She no longer qualified for Medicaid. She had to move out because she was now on her own. She could afford her own house, pay her own health care benefits, and pay for her own food for her family. So Dr. Chapman did have a vision, and he made a difference in this woman's life and her family's life. Now there's one less family receiving assistance. So this is just one story, and I'm sure there's many more out there. But I know some of you had questions about what Scott Bibb is all about, what that center does. It's changing lives, it's changing families, it's building up our economy, getting people off state aid. Thank you.
Mine's real short and sweet. I've been at the college longer than Dr. Dale has been president. I've seen it grow. He's made me very proud. It's a wonderful university. And as I've listened to everybody tonight, I have almost come to tears. I have great pride in Dr. Dale. And you know what? I think the damn place has had a bargain. I think he needs a raise.
My name is Joanne Shepherd, and I've served on the foundation board since it started. In fact, we started the foundation board. That was about 30 years ago. I have also been on the Alton School District Board, president 1 year. I served 8 years on the Alton School District Board. When you go into executive session, remember, it will just take one of you to do the right thing.
Good evening. I would like to speak on behalf of Lewis and Clark students and address the decision by the board members to not renew Dr. Chapman's contract. I have a few questions regarding the decision. First of all, why? Over the course of the past few months, I've heard board members state that their jobs require them to provide financial oversight, which I agree with. If there are ways to make the college more fiscally responsible, then action should be taken to do so. In addition, members have stated that they must answer to taxpayers and their constituents. But from what I can tell, the members of this college, as well as students that attend, fall into that category. Have you sought input from the students? Have you visited off-site complexes to see how they operate or how people there interact? Have you asked the students how this change will affect them? As student trustee, my voice is the student's voice. It is in our best interest in which I act. Like other members of the board, I must consider how my constituents would benefit from my action. Although my vote is only an advisory vote, speaking on behalf of the student body carries a lot of weight and responsibility. It is my view that the student body benefits greatly from Dr. Chapman's leadership. The campus has expanded exponentially. Programs have been added. Funds have been awarded that enhance the overall learning experience and options that students have to be successful. Dr. Chapman has worked diligently, along with other staff, to grow Lewis and Clark into an institution that garners respect and attracts students, not just in Illinois, but beyond. His relationship with community leaders, local and statewide, have played an integral part in that growth. Those relationships have taken years to build and function bidirectionally to assist employers with candidate placement, as well as fills the need of our community. How will those relationships be affected if he's no longer there in that role to foster them? I'm not saying that no one is capable of fulfilling the role as president of Lewis and Clark, but no one can fill Dr. Chapman's shoes. Excellence. Excellence has a trickle-down effect, and I believe that Dr. Chapman encourages just that. I can only speak from my personal perspective as a nursing student. The staff and faculty do not just educate students on how to be a nurse, they facilitate competency and confidence. They genuinely care for each student in a way that I have not experienced. There's a reason that the NCLEX pass rate is so high when LC nursing students are hired so quickly following completion of the program. It is because the reputation of excellence is known within the nursing community. Excellence that comes from great leadership. One cannot operate a successful and renowned program without it. Politics aside, Lewis and Clark is composed of students who attend in hopes of creating a better future for themselves and for their families. I'm asking you to look beyond the numbers in the ledger and view the college as a whole. Each student is not just a number, the faculty not just an expense. We are more. As members, okay, thank you.
Does anyone else wish to make a public comment? If you do not wish to make a public comment or have a written statement, perhaps you could submit that to President Chapman, and he could share that with the board later. Mr. Bemis, you said something about you had an important element. Could you make a copy of that and give it to Dr. Chapman so we could distribute that with the board? Thank you. Yeah, Mr. Chapman or Dr. Chapman, that's for Cedar to read, okay? Well, board, thank you all for attending our public meeting tonight and expressing your views and opinions. We will now move on to an item on the agenda. Thank you very much. We now have the omnibus agenda. The following items will be approved on motion unless any board wishes to have an item for the vote.
Mr. Chairman, before we move the omnibus agenda, I'd like to move that we move item number 8AA to the end of the action items after item AI.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Any discussion?
Repeat that.
Yeah, item AA, action to extend president. I'd like to move that to the end of the action items. In other words, it would be after item AI.
Motion has been made and second. Any other discussion? Call for the vote.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
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 Motion carried. We'll go to number 4, omnibus agenda. Are there any of the items listed there that you wanted to say, pulled from the?
Yes, I'd like to pull item B as in boy, C as in cat, E as in equal, G as in good, H as in Henry, and I as in indigo. And yeah, yep, that's it.
Any other board members want to pull an item? This is. If not, let's, do we have a motion to approve A, D, F, J, K, and L with one motion? That doesn't work at all.
So move.
A second? Okay.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded that we approve A, D, F, J, K, and L. Any discussion? If not, call for the vote.
I just mentioned one thing. On L, we have gifts. The gifts have been received. And there are 3 vehicles, 4 Taurus, 2 cargo vans from the Illinois Community College Board, East St. Louis Higher Education Center, gifted to the Lewis and Clark Automotive Program for use by the automotive program. So I just want to acknowledge that gift.
Okay. Call for the vote.
Tolgetsky,
Yes.
Rust,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Hanfelder,
Yes.
Watson,
Yes.
McCain,
Yes.
Wertz,
Yes.
Hyan.
Yes. Financial highlights, B.
Yeah, I just had one, I don't know, question or observation, I guess you'd say. There's an item which to me is a fairly significant financial highlight on page 51. We're talking about $9 million of bond principal and interest payment. And I don't have any particular problem with that. I'm just wondering if maybe someone could explain why that's not a financial highlight. Mary?
where it's invoices requiring board approval.
Yeah.
So we ask for your approval to make those payments before they're made. They're actually due at the end of October.
I understand that. It just seems like that should be in the financial highlights. I don't know, just,
The financial highlights, the following items are presented to highlight various financial transactions of the college during September
Yeah.
2019. The bond payments are October payments.
okay, so it's actually a different time period. Okay. So that the bond and interest payments will be a highlight in next month.
They will be
Next
part of the
month, right?
cash disbursements,
Next
yes.
month, okay. There'll be a next month, a financial highlight,
As disbursements, yes.
as a financial highlight.
Well, not
No.
in and of itself. We don't have a section that says bond payments,
Okay,
but it will appear under cash disbursements under cash flow.
okay. That's enough on that. Yeah, I had a,
Are you still on B?
yes.
We haven't had a
no, I'm not-
motion
no, I'm
yet.
done with B.
We haven't had a motion
So we
yet.
have to have a motion.
Is there a motion to approve B?
So move.
If there's a
Second.
tech in the house, if you could get these mics working better.
A second.
Any discussion? Yes, okay, call for the vote.
Tolgetsky,
Yes.
Rust,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Hanfelder,
Yes.
Watson,
Yes.
McCain. Yes. Wertz.
Yes.
Hyen.
Yes. Item C, bills, 29 through 64.
Okay, I just have a question on page 52. There's some payments for electricity to AEP, and there's also payments to Ameren. I just am curious as to what the difference is. I know what Ameren is, obviously, but is AEP at a different location, or?
Is that the aggregator? But, if we don't know these in advance, it's hard to know on the spot. But I think that this is a.
Well, it was $65,000 in the 1 month to AEP.
Yeah, but we do an aggregator service. We don't buy. We contract out for.
So this is probably, okay. Yeah, this was, Ameren is just a distribution
Right,
charge.
right.
AEP is the electrical charge.
I'm guessing, but
power
I'll
charge.
confirm that.
That makes sense.
The supplier, yeah.
Are you done with C? Motion to approve C, bills.
So move.
Motion's been made. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Those in favor? Or let's roll call.
Tolgetsky,
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes. Item E, balance sheet.
Okay. Just a quick question, I guess you'd say on,
She needs to make a motion first.
oh, yeah. Yeah. I move that we approve item C, Roman numeral 4C.
We've done that one, haven't we?
No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I meant item E.
Yes, okay. Is there a second? On E?
Second.
Motion been made and second? Okay. Now, is there a discussion?
Yeah, I just was wondering, we still are looking at June 30th balance sheets, and I'm just kind of wondering, are we will we see the new ones next month, or how does that work? I know we talked about that a little bit last month.
We did talk about that last month, and as I left, I asked Ms. Johnson if she would like us to bring forward fiscal year 20 at this meeting or keep with our pattern of bringing forward the prior year until the audit was complete. And we were instructed that it would be fine to go ahead and bring 19.
Call for the vote? Or not, any further discussion on that or not? Okay, call for the vote.
Tolgetsky,
Yes.
Rust,
Yes?
Hanfelder,
Yes.
Watson,
Yes.
McCain,
Yes.
Wertz.
Yes.
Hyen,
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
G, bid information. Is there a motion to approve?
I move we approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion been made and second. Any discussion on bid information?
Yes, on page 77, we have a bid from Agency for Inclusive Learning and Living, LLC. And I looked at that, and what is the total budget for that? That's just one, we just show an hourly rate there, but is there an annual cost that we have an estimate of what the annual cost is?
We have
And
somebody who
what
can
is-
answer
what
that.
is
Hold on.
Hi. At $24,000 for the year was written into the grant proposal. So this is year 2 of a 3-year grant.
And what do they do? What are they sort?
So that's the grant that replicated the College for Life program at our Edwardsville campus. And they are working, setting up the classrooms and ordering supplies and getting everything ready to go.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Call for the vote.
Tolgetsky,
Yes.
Rust,
Yes.
Hanfelder,
Yes.
Watson,
Yes.
McCain,
Yes.
Wertz.
Yes.
Hyen,
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Item H, motion to approve requiring board approval. Item H.
I move we approve.
Second,
I'll second.
motion been made and seconded. Any discussion?
Yeah, looking at page 80, there's an item on there that's called where am I looking? Let me find it here for a minute. The people admin. It adds up to about $130,000 for 5 years. It is. I'll find it here. It's the last item on that page. And the year one total is $24,000 and some, but this is actually a 5-year contract. So I consider it a $130,000 commitment. Were there bids taken for this? Did we approve bids on this, or? And what is this for? Is this for? Well,
This
it must be
is-
for HR.
Sorry, yeah. This is our primary recruiting and onboarding software that we use. You've heard of PeopleSoft probably in the private sector often is used. This is what we use, very highly used in higher education. So this is what we do for all of our applicant tracking, all of our job postings, and then we onboard through this software as well. We've used it since 2006, I believe.
Did you get bids, or by any chance?
Well, we did not this year. I know that, so when we went to this software platform back in, I believe it was 6, long before I was here, this kind of coincided with when we brought our ERP software, Ellucian, on board. They interface very well with Ellucian, and it's been a product we've used ever since, very HR friendly. So we don't bid this on an annual basis, I guess, to answer your.
Well, no, I wouldn't, yeah, it's a 5-year deal, right?
Well, so they gave us 3 options this year. So we had an option, the one we recommended was the 5 years, so the $24,571. Choosing a 5-year deal allows you to then have a 3% increase each year. The other options were to take an 8% increase 1 year or a 5% annual over 3 years. So over the long run, looking at the savings that we feel we would achieve, we'd look at a 5-year where we'd go to $24,571. In year 5, we'd be at $27,655. If we were to take the 1 year and take 8%, assuming that continues, by year 5, we'd be at $35,000 for that product. So we looked at a long-term cost of that, thinking this is a product we would expect to continue to use. If not, to your point, we would be bidding it out and looking at similar costs.
But it sounds like from what you said there, it might not, if we went with a different vendor, it might not work as well with Ellucian. Is that correct?
I'm sure there are other products that do work with Ellucian, but this is one that certainly interfaces with Ellucian, and it is something we're very familiar with, something we've used, and my specialists in my department have used since inception.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll probably be getting into the need for more bidding at a different time.
Dr. Chapman, I have a question. I'd ask you about how we attract new students here, and you said primarily they get on their cell phones and do all that. And on page 80, we have arrow signs, and has there been a study, or do you know whether that really works?
We have a kind of a comprehensive approach. We do internet and media sensitive kinds of recruiting, but we also use billboards.
Yeah, so we survey all the students on campus every 2 years and try to figure out the ways that they're finding out about Lewis and Clark and just the media that they're using. And so we have a really kind of a diversified marketing plan that I'd love to share with you at a future meeting date. But this billboard advertising is just one small piece of that overall plan. It represents a small piece of our total marketing efforts. But I will just say specifically, we are kind of limited on billboards in this area, and they are expensive, so we don't do a lot of them. We try to find digital billboards because it allows us to save money on the actual material cost of producing a billboard, and we can change out those ads more frequently. This particular contract with Arrow Signs is called a SignFlex program, and it allows us to have 3 different messages, and they move them to all of their different SignFlex locations throughout the area. So just increases exposure, and we've found it's, in terms of billboards, the most affordable, and as I said, it increases our exposure because it does change locations.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Call for the vote.
Tolgetsky,
Yes.
Rust,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Hanfelder,
Yes.
Watson,
Yes.
McCain,
Yes.
Wertz,
Yes.
Hyen.
Yes. Item I, is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
I do have one question. On page 291, there's an item called Unity for $50,294. Can somebody tell me what that is? Page 291.
Unify.
Yeah, the vendor is Unify.
So it's part of the telephony system. So it's a piece of software regarding the telephony system the college uses. It's a part of the telephony system, the phone system. That it's a software associated with the phone system that is required for phone operations, and I guess this is an update.
So, I mean, was it something that was bid? Were there bids on this? Are there alternatives?
Hold on, Mary Sue.
Again, I'll tell you what I know or don't know. This was submitted to me by Jeff Watson, who's over, as you know, over the technology and telecommunications. As this reads, it's the annual phone system maintenance.
Right.
So it's a maintenance program for the phones. If you look on page 291 at the actual invoice that was submitted for payment, you can see it covers 1,626 licenses for a flex license, whatever that is. But there's 400 voice licenses, 400 unified licenses. Expressions is our voicemail system. That's everything I know about telephones in this contract, but that is where the cost came from, and that is where the request came from. We would need to have some sort of a maintenance program on our phones. As to bidding, there are many things, professional contracts and software that isn't required to be bid by statute. So no, we do not bid unless we feel there is a benefit in bidding, as there's costs not only in advertising but in people time to do that.
Back when the phone system was, we were looking at a new phone system, we did, look at several different options for that, and did take quotes and all that back, some years back, and this is maintaining the existing system.
I mean, once you choose your phone system, you're pretty much tied into the maintenance program or the company for that maintenance, unless you choose to put in an entire new phone system, which would cost considerably more. The same with people admin. If we were to go out and try to secure a different software, we have implementation costs.
Yeah, you tend to get locked in, right? Was it Unify? Was that the name of the vendor of the phone system itself, or is this a separate vendor? I've never heard of this vendor for a phone system.
I think they're a service vendor for the phone system.
Service vendor.
So then it's coming out of the telecommunications operating funds. That's part of the operating
Right.
budget, or is that a restricted fund?
It's part of the operating budget.
Funded by the tech plan.
What?
It's part of the operating budget, but as it says, it's funded by the tech plan,
So it's coming out of tech plan?
but in the operating budget. Well, the
We
tech-
do have some telecommunications dollars in the operating budget that are institutional
Okay.
funds, and this is budgeted for that.
Oh, this is institutional money? Okay.
This
okay.
is
All right,
institutional
sorry.
money, yes.
Any other comments or questions? Call for the vote?
Tolgetsky?
Yes.
Rust?
Yes?
Johnson?
Yes.
Hanfelder?
Yes.
Watson?
Yes.
McCain?
Yes.
Wertz?
Yes.
Hyen.
Yes. Move on to number 5, informational items. First item, awarded grants and sponsored contracts.
Everything in the information items M through Q are as printed in your board packet.
One of the items under Q, announcements, we're going to have a special board meeting October 24th at 5:30. Is that correct?
Yes, but the location that was listed there is not correct, because we found out we need to move it to a different location, so it will be in the comments.
Be in the comments, yeah.
It will be in the
So
comments?
why don't we repeat that, Sue? It'll be October 24th at 5:30.
October 24th, 5:30 in the comments.
Okay, we'll talk about the tax
Tax levy
and the
and
bonds?
bonds, right.
And the bonds, okay. Well, I had appointed Julie and Kevin to review the bond issue with the bonding company, and we're $130 million in debt, and I hope that you two will be working on that and add information to that meeting, perhaps.
Yeah, the actual number
Mary?
I was reviewing a draft of the audit today, and I believe it's 121 million, and that is before the payments that are presented in this board book.
Which would be 9 million.
Have applied. So bring it down to about 112.
112.
And that includes such things as accretion and amortization, not principal bond balances.
Okay, so we're 121 million?
It would be 112 in November, right?
Right.
Okay.
It's a moving
Yeah.
number.
Okay, I just noticed that SWIC had a debt of 17.5 million, and I just, wanted to compare.
They have a totally different tax base as well. You have to consider all of that.
Okay, thank you.
But the purpose of that meeting and the next meeting is to get on the same page with these numbers.
Sure.
Dr. Chapman, the 112 million will be paid off by approximately when?
70% within 10 years.
10 years.
We asked for a schedule of how that was going to work, and we've never seen it.
It'll be at the next meeting.
Thank you. Any other comments about number 5, informational items?
Yeah, I just had a comment on item N there. It's on page 318. There's an item on there called Population Demography of Bird-Voiced Tree Frogs in Southern Illinois. Now, I don't have anything against tree frogs. Matter of fact, I love tree frogs. I really do. Seriously, I love tree frogs. And this is already a done deal, I think. This has already been, been approved and that. We've got, it looks like a match of $96,632 that we're obligated on. But this is a project down on Cache River, down in Shawnee. It's 2.5 hours away. And this would be, in my mind, in my opinion, would be the type of grant that would be very questionable that we would want to be involved in. I mean, so.
Do we have people from NGREC here? Oh, here's Gary.
I understand from the title, your reflection, that it might not be in the heart of our focus, but the reality is the system that we live in is all interrelated. And one of the indicators of system stress are tree frogs and other amphibians. And so it is, in fact, quite appropriate to be part of our research portfolio. The match is not a cash match. It's an in-kind match. So again, there's no money going out. It's simply money that's coming in. And again, that's an integral part of the system that we all live in. And the Cache River happens to be a good location to do it.
We may not have bird-voiced tree frogs up here for all I know. Are they around? Are they in
Yes,
all over
they
in
are.
Illinois? Or
They are, but a major population area where they are impacted is the Cache River, and so it makes sense to do it there. Plus, the granting agency has a particular interest in both tree frogs and the location, so that's another reason. It's not necessarily our choice only.
And these grant funds help to supplement the college funds and.
Oh, totally, yeah. There's indirect cost on this, and again, we have no dollars out, it's all dollars in.
So win-win.
Thank you, Doctor. Any other comments about informational items or questions? If not, we'll move on to discussion items. Construction project status.
Lori Artis, Vice President of Administration.
So just a few updates. The construction project status report is on page 446 in your book. The George Terry Riverbend Arena project is still moving along on target. We did the walkthrough this past week, and I believe we're waiting on carpet in the offices that I was told is being delivered and hopefully installed this week. We've got some stair treads on the main entrance from the second floor to the first floor, and the second floor was all the drywall is complete. They were mudding. The ceiling tiles are going in, and we are still expected to be in there and have all of our athletic staff and classes moved back in for the start of the spring semester. Nothing really new to report on the main complex and foundation improvements. I understand CDB and AAIC are answering each other's questions right now, but we'll give you an update when we hear more on that. On the campus site lighting improvement project, we are receiving the fixtures this week for the main part of campus through the walkway. We are still waiting on the fixtures. From what we understand, it's a manufacturer supply problem, and we're waiting on those fixtures and hoping to get those completed just for the parking lot itself. So, any questions on any of those projects?
No comments. What about student loan default rate?
So Angela Weaver is here, I think, who's head of student financial aid, and we have some good news on the student default rate. Thanks to Angela's great work and her team.
Good evening, everyone. So we've had some continued decline in our student loan default rate. And our student loan default rate for fiscal year 2016 is 11.3%. It's really something because we have probably, I would say, 3 groups of students. We have students that can only attend Lewis and Clark via student loans. That's all they're eligible for. And then we have students that are eligible for a combination of grants and loans. And then another group of students we have are those students that are most needy students that are eligible for grants, and sometimes they're eligible for maximum grants, both federal and state. And those students, when they want to borrow, we have them actually come into the financial aid office and we counsel them. Because many of those students can leave at Lewis and Clark without any debt. And if they have to borrow, we try to find out if it's for educational reasons. So if a student comes to the office and they tell me they want to borrow to buy a car, we're not going to do a student loan for a car. If they come and tell me they want to borrow to go on vacation, we're not going to do a student loan for vacation. But if they need tools, if they're in the automotive program, or they have to pay for fees, excess fees, and then the nursing program or dental program, we are there to help, or even childcare or even a computer. So that counseling, I think, makes a big difference, even though we can't control what students do when they leave Lewis and Clark. The counseling that we try to do, we think really sways that number, and we're hoping for that continued decline and to maintain a low default rate in the years to come.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions, Angela? Okay.
Next, enrollment. Any comments on that from?
I think that was on as an information item, and I think that we presented the information to I think it was Julie or others who asked for that, so I have no further comments unless there's any comments that anybody would like to make. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for the information.
Outstanding opportunity for nursing students.
Dr. Zawinski's here. Here she comes.
Good evening. I'd like to take a moment tonight to brag about one of our outstanding staff members, and that is Donna Eaglehoff. She did, yeah. I'm going to invite her up because she can tell you more about what she did this summer for our students, but let me just say that over 60 students came on their own time this summer to spend 3 days with Donna and her staff to better themselves for a great start this fall. So Donna?
Thank you, Dr. Zawinski, and I'm so honored. Actually, the showcase is our students, and the magic is not me. It's the staff, support staff, and administration. In 2023, the NCLEX is planning on changing, and one of the premier changes is going to be on clinical judgment. So now is the time to start, even though these students will not be affected. As a nursing program, we need to begin work now. In trying to brainstorm, standardized simulation, a lot of colleges use that, especially universities, and standardized simulation is using live people. However, usually it's actors, actresses, there has to be a stipend. If we have volunteers, usually it's retired people. So I had this kind of wild idea and posed it to my director, and I could not be more pleased to work with Director Sherry Banovic, Assistant Diane McDonough, and Assistant Sheila Emmerich. And they were all on board. They were patients. And Diane was able to get a pediatric patient. So what kind of happened sort of by accident is we were able to touch upon all of the growth and development issues. And by having the standardized patients, then our students were able to work on professional and management skills and to have that dialogue and then actually do clinical judgment. What came of that is I had students from every semester. So again, Lewis and Clark is set aside as one of the top innovators that first, second, third, and fourth got to pair up and use those leadership skills, and they got to meet other nursing students that they normally don't have class with. During the day, Dr. Sue Zerwinski came in and talked and interacted with our students. The other interesting thing that happened is Elsevier Publishing Company is based out of St. Louis, but is a nationwide publishing company. And Sharifa had contacted me, and she's part of a simulation writing team that I've also worked with in the past, and said, we want to come to Lewis and Clark. We want to look at your simulation labs. And I said, well, I'm trying something new. Why don't you come see what our students are doing? And with that whole simulation team from a publishing company came and observed our students. But I want to personally thank Dr. Dale Chapman, because he not only came over to interact with our students, but he welcomed the visitors to campus. The magic, the learning that happened that day came from Dr. Dale Chapman, Dean Sue Zerwinski, Director Sherry Banovic, the staff and support staff, administration of Diane McDonough and Sheila Emmerich, because the message to our students, we care about your education. We are here and we are going to empower you, and we are going to help you be successful. So I did nothing. They did all the magic. But anyway, I cannot thank the team enough, and I think the students really enjoyed it. Questions? Does anybody have any questions?
Thank you. Thank you. Any questions?
Okay.
Thank you.
Donna, was this at our facility over here where this was held?
Yes, it was in our nursing building here. Yes, it was.
Thank you.
Yes.
Status report on the hiring of a recruiter.
Gabe, you gonna say that? Lori?
So I think when we wrote the board item, we had updated the board at that time how many applicants and interviews. Happy to report that the committee had selected their top applicant, and on Monday he has accepted the position. So we're just working on trying to finalize a start date with our recruiter. So he's an alumni, was an athlete here on our campus from 2014 until 2016, was a part of the soccer team that made the national run. Very energetic young man, and has a background in recruiting currently. So. Okay.
Thank you.
W, President's Report on Latest Evaluation Process for VPs and his direct reports.
Right, so I was asked by the board to kind of go through how we go about doing, evaluation at this institution, especially my direct reports. Everybody has the same, every manager has the same sort of performance assessment tool that we use, as the details of who the employee is. Part one has to do with performance, knowledge of the job, quality of the work, productivity, independence, kind of self-development, initiations, and then optical and technical skills, fiscal management skills, controls, operating costs by effectively using staff, materials, and equipment, monitors expenditures, computer and technical skills, possesses employees' computer technical skills as needed for the position, adherence to college policies and mission, complies with the college policies and procedures, their attendance at the work site, critical thinking skills, judgment, decision-making, identifies and evaluates key issues affecting the department, the institution, reaching timely and sound conclusions, leadership and accountability, dependability and accountability, cooperation, conduct and support of the mission of the college, communication skills, interpersonal skills, innovation as a change agent kinds of characteristics, and then the overall performance. Then the supervisor, manager of records, sits down and they work through all of the review the employee's success in achieving those goals, objectives, and strategies as identified by the last performance review, sets goals and objectives that were not a part of the last evaluation, and then reviews parts 1 and 2 of this, basically then sets the goals and objectives for the next year and holds that person accountable. The employee signs this, the manager signs this, and the next level of supervisor signs this as kind of the commitment of where that employee's going to, how the employee's going to be held accountable over the next period of time. So that's kind of the format that's used, and every manager has one of these, and we do these annually.
Okay, including the VPs.
Including VPs.
How are relatives evaluated?
Relatives are evaluated like anybody else will be evaluated. You mean my relatives? Or?
Well, I don't know. I don't know all the staff, but I mean, is there any situation where a relative's evaluating a relative?
Well,
what happens?
We have a nepotism policy, as you know, which I think we're going to talk about. With the so the only person that isn't in a direct line management that would affect would be Dr. Linda Chapman, who's the academic vice president. If that's what you mean, and so that that person would not be evaluated by me, as it was stated earlier.
Who evaluates?
That person would be evaluated by the board chair.
Okay, and then do you get this same form? Are you evaluated?
I'm also evaluated by the board chair, and I have the same form. And you're welcome to look at it.
Yeah. When was the last time you were evaluated?
We do it annually.
Okay, so that would have been last spring?
So the next ones are due in the spring of 2020.
So there should be one on file for last spring when
Right.
the board chair evaluated you?
Right. Be glad to show it to you.
Okay, so there's a file of them the board could look at if we wanted to?
Welcome to have it.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments? If not, update from the board on the status of the Gallagher compensation study, X.
And I guess that would be me. Dr. Chapman, Julie and I, and Gabe, and I think Lori was there at least for one of the sessions. We kind of got together to talk about the Gallagher compensation study, which we didn't pass because we weren't ready to pass it. The majority were not ready to pass it, and we wanted some questions answered and some some initiatives along in association with that study. So there were like five items or initiatives that we kind of agreed upon. The first initiative is the extended cabinet positions. That would be, I think you probably all know who the extended cabinet positions are. The reports to Dr. Chapman and I guess one level down. And we wanted those to be, they were excluded from the Gallagher study. And we wanted those positions to be included in the Gallagher study. And so we agreed that that would be done. And so in the November meeting, there'll be a motion in the agenda to approve the expenditure of probably $10,000 to $15,000 for a study of those positions, a compensation study of those positions. Number two, performance evaluations will be incorporated into the compensation system and will have an effect on compensation. That doesn't mean that that is the only consideration. It's just saying that performance, some might call it merit, would be incorporated as a portion of the process of compensation. And the third thing was that we wanted to see push it, you gotta push it. There you go. Well. Okay, thank you, Sue. So the third thing was that there were some positions that where there has been turnover, and that were of special concern, and we just asked that those positions be identified, and in the implementation of the Gallagher compensation study, that those positions that are causing us problems, so to speak, would be the implementation would be accelerated in those cases, and we agreed on that. Number four, we wanted to see what our neighbor, the Southwest Illinois College, is doing. They were not included in the Gallagher study. In my estimation, that they weren't. It seemed to me very odd that they weren't included. The justification was that they were not in our quote-unquote cohort. I don't know about that. Some of the how that's defined was a little bit nebulous to me. But anyway, we wanted to see that because they're our next door neighbor. And with some difficulty, some hard work by Gabe and Dr. Chapman, we did get that information from them. And we will be discussing that. And I'm not talking about how that has or has not been incorporated into the study itself. And then number five is that we felt pretty strongly that instead of an implementation over 3 years, that it should be spread over 5. And there's some wiggle room on that because we're already several months into the fiscal year 20. So if we start implementation right now, we still wouldn't be spending the whole $190,000 that's in the budget for implementation. So that's somewhat fluid. Rather, could it be 4 years or 4.5 years, something like that? But we did agree that could be implemented and spread out. That cost could be spread out over 5 years, up to probably a maximum of 5 years. Probably wouldn't be a good idea to go beyond that. So for the November meeting, we need to have a motion for the cabinet level evaluation compensation study. We need to, between now and then, look at the information that we got from SWIC. And I believe that there's a very good possibility that in the November meeting we'll be able to, everyone will agree to go forward with the Gallagher study. I did want to add something on the performance evaluations. That's not something that's going to happen right away. It's going to take, we're talking about a year. I think we can do it. It can be done probably in a year to, for training and for the implementation of getting that incorporated into our compensation system. So, well, I don't know if I should ask for, I don't want to field any questions.
Well, I have a question about that. I think we're all in favor of bringing up salaries for the people who are paid below market value. They need to be brought up to that. And I'm hoping that this study accomplishes that. But the question I do have is, in that initial report, there were some administrators that were paid substantially more than state averages, some maybe 130 or 130 or 30,000 or maybe 100,000 more than the state average. Are those salaries going to be lowered, or are they going to be frozen at that level, or do you have any idea with regard to the Gallagher study how that's going to be handled?
Well, I can't imagine a situation where you would actually lower somebody's salary. But the effect of the gradual implementation over 5 years, I mean, the salaries that are above the maximums will tend to be self-correcting. So
I would
I'm
just
not
add,
too concerned about it.
sorry, Kevin. I would just add that, when the individuals in those positions, are no longer in those positions, then those will go in line with what Gallagher recommends on the rehire.
Thank you. Any other comments? If not, we go on to policy 409, employment of members of the same family or household are in a personal relationship. You report on that?
I think Julie asked to.
Okay, yeah, I asked for this, and I just think with a new attorney that these kind of policies should be reviewed, and so I wanted the public to know that we're currently reviewing this policy and making sure it satisfies, all the recent legalities that have popped up over the last few years. This is dated 2012, so I think it's good with a new attorney, and this is 7 years old, and he's going to review it. And I guess if he has significant changes, we'll have that ready maybe by the November meeting.
And I just wanted to add that since we had the policy put in place, there have not been any exceptions to the policy. So I just want to put that on record.
Okay, so the attorney will be working on that with us. Good. Okay. We're done with that one. Any other comments? If not, we move on to Z, purchases and contracts policy.
I also requested this. So I'm looking for a way to make sure that the long-term relationships that the college has with certain vendors who are outside of the bid process, make sure that we're getting our money's worth from those vendors. I know in my business experience, if you work with somebody for a long time and they know you got money, they'll just get a little bit of inflation in their bill. I'm not sure that's the case here, but so that's why I brought this to light, and it's good because I wanted everybody to see this policy. And after discussing with the attorney, what we're going to do is just focus on a few of the large contracts that the college has and start with that rather than revising and bidding everything, which is, I understand will be difficult to do. So I'm just going to ask for the administration to give the board a copy of the architect's contract, AAIC, and then the audit contract, which that might change annually, I don't know, but the latest one.
it's on a certain cycle, so. yeah.
Okay. And then also the Harinko contract, is that still in force, or is that one over?
Through December.
Due to be renewed December, or what do you mean due December?
It's the contract's currently through December.
Through December. Oh, sorry, I didn't hear it. Right. So let's just, if it is okay with you, just provide those to the board.
No problem.
And that's how we'll start with that. So this doesn't require any action at this point.
Now we've come to item 7 for a closed session. Is there a motion to adjourn to a closed session?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call?
Tolgetsky,
Yes.
Rust,
Yes.
Hanfelder,
Yes.
Watson,
Yes.
McCain,
Yes.
Wertz,
Yes.
Hyen,
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
We will now ask the members of the public who are attending the meeting to excuse the board as they leave the room to enter into a closed session for consideration of employment status of a specific employee. We anticipate adjourning the closed session and reconvening the open portion of the meeting after the closed session is completed.
How you doing? Let's try this one more time. Brian Schrage, do you hear me? Brian, is it clear? If it's clear, wave your hand in the air. Hey, that's good. Let me move on. To be honest, these are positions that I hope that I never have to sit in. Can you hear me? If you hear me and it's clear, wave your hand. Thank you.
I'm on Dale's mic right now. Does it sound like it's good, normal, bzz, 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 anything normal? I'm getting close to it. It shouldn't be anything having to do with it, but the reception from that router. So this should be fine. You're still good. That's in like OTE.
I'm going to spot check a roll call mic. Can you hear that? Okay, we're good? Okay.
Appreciate you being here. Thanks for being here. It's a long meeting. Are you ready for the dad joke or Max? So I'll say like this, you have to listen. Big listener, and I have to listen to Paul Love America. There you go, there you go. I'm saying a car fire joke, if you are. The science book. There you go. Got a haircut. Hey guys, thanks. What? I don't know that. We took it to town, the time we went into Casey's. Yeah. That's substation right there. Stop saying substation, because now I know what that means. Power station, all that. They got me up on 6 o'clock. We had to get 4 o'clock for 20-some years. Goes up and skis out. Kind of like going in a truck. I was little kids, I looked out across the creek, and I looked down like, oh no. Well, you know what it is. kill you. Hell, I don't worry, she'll kill you. Hey, just if he starts driving Neos and all Geos and all those other little small ball bullshit, you know it rubs off on him.
This one's quite a ways up. He's on the
So you're living in Jerseyville now? Liking it? I talk to Bluetooth once in a while. Dude, I'll tell you what, I was so glad I took it. I got some setting on there because it was John. I'd have probably been across the living room. You know, I'm like, no, man. Because there was a couple times I said, hey, Ghost, we need to do, no, we don't either. Okay. Still got your own pickup truck? Todd's still out there? I heard Rondo was back out there. I warned him about that. Now, didn't I? That's what Frank said. Motherfuckers fire me. Oh, dude, I just seen somebody head in the car door several times. You got They got a lot of duct tape out there. Just tape her mouth shut. About 9 or 10 rolls. When I came out the first Yeah. We're on the way. yesterday, yesterday morning about 6, we went in here, I got a phone call. Hey,
is that county? I just told Terry Friday. Yeah, it would have been so much more fun if I said it. That was coming out of your mouth. I could just hear it. Carpenter's trying to tell him plywood. I was over at the water judge. Natural. It is natural habitat. You know, that's an honor, Joe.
I went over there and I started packing the plywood. You know, I like to go that time. I drink the water. When I started packing the plywood, Chris goes, "You need me help with that?" I go, "No, I got all the plywood." Well, I had to pack one sheet all the way over there and bring all the way back.
So he's on his second sheet at this point. Story.
Here comes the carpenter. Trying to tell me how long that all the plywood. You're like, out of like 4 by 8. I said, I just need to take this out of my hands. You think you can? I don't know who's lucky.
I ain't seen it.
So I got brought up, and they couldn't get a motion to do anything. They didn't get there. No, I get them now.
We'll need a roll call to resume open session.
Tolgetsky?
Here.
Watson?
Here.
McCain?
Here.
Wertz?
Here.
Hyen?
Here.
Johnson?
Here.
Rust?
Here.
Hanfelder?
Yes.
So the minutes will show that the closed session began at 9:10 and was attended by Robert Watson, Brenda McCain, Dwight Wertz, David Hine, Julie Johnson, Charles Hanfelder, Kevin Russ, and April Tolgetsky, and Dennis Weedman. The minutes will show that the closed session was adjourned at 9:37, and the board has returned to the meeting room, and we now are back in open session at, and what time is it? 9:41. Okay. And so now we'll go to action items, and double A is at the end of the action items, so we will now go to AB, authorize the hiring of an independent auditor to audit the travel expenses of senior administration. Is there a motion to approve the hiring of an auditor?
I make the motion.
Second.
Okay. Motion's been made and seconded to hire an independent auditor to audit the travel expenses of the senior administration for fiscal year 2019. That's on page 504. Any discussion?
What expenses is this going to cost the college?
That remains to be seen. So hopefully not much, but we'll find out and get back to the board.
Before we vote on
We'll have to approve it to be engaged, I guess you'd say.
Any further discussion? If not, call for the vote.
Tolgetsky?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Rust?
Yes.
Hanfelder?
Yes.
Watson?
No.
McCain?
No.
Wertz?
No.
Hyan?
Yes. Motion approved. AC, approval of grant or sponsored contract opportunities, page 505 to 506. Motion to approve. We're waiting on a motion, but I don't know, while it's silent here and everybody's thinking, Dale, you want to inform us as to the opportunities? That really comes under discussion, but while we're thinking, I guess, waiting for a motion.
You want to mention what's on? So basically, we're looking at an NSF proposal. A new proposal would be around $3 million over 3 years, and the principal investigator would be Charlie Blake. That's through the National Great Rivers Research and Education Center, transforming public science programs to the more accessible and underrepresented. So that's
Did you say this is going to be at NGREC? Or no?
Yeah, well, it'd be funded through the National Science Foundation, but the work would be through the National Great Rivers Research and Education Center. Gary.
Specific question about that project. Basically, it's an expansion of the citizen science program, which is called RiverWatch, that we've conducted for many years. And this NSF opportunity offers the chance to expand the program and to reach streams and areas of the state that have been inadequately represented in the past. So it's a strengthening grant with the opportunity to build the RiverWatch program externally.
I think
No matching funds. Dr. Blake.
Dr. Blake is here tonight, so you want to say something, Dr. Blake?
So this grant is part of an expansion of the citizen science program. as Gary mentioned. So the Citizen Science Program is a science learning opportunity for adults, maybe who are not enrolled in some sort of degree program, but a way for people to either get interested in a new career or continue their science education later in life. It's open to anyone, regardless of whether you used to be good in science in school or not. It's kind of a way for people to get involved in learning about science in a different creative setting.
So how is it to become more accessible to the underrepresented?
So right now the program is a little bit difficult to afford for our volunteers. We're actually charging our volunteers to attend for training. That's how we've been running the program, so that it doesn't cost the college money. But this would allow us to offer it for free to people to participate.
And you can do this, perform this grant without adding any additional personnel? Is that correct?
Some of that money is for the personnel. That's what the grant money is for.
Okay, what happens at the end of the 3 years?
Those people would just be for the period of the grant. So the grant is a temporary expansion of the program. We would study the effects of that. That's part of what the National Science Foundation would want us to do, is to see how that would impact the program. And then there isn't necessarily an expectation that those staff positions would continue after the term of the grant.
And they're hired with that condition?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made and second to approve the grant-sponsored contract opportunities. Any other questions or comments? Call for the vote.
Tolgetsky?
Yes.
Wertz?
Yes.
McCain?
Yes.
Hyen?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Rust?
Yes.
Hanfelder?
Yes.
Watson?
Yes.
Next item is 2020 and 2021 college holiday calendar. Is there a motion to approve? Brenda made the motion to approve. We need a second. Second by Bob Watson. Discussion?
Each year, the board is called upon to approve the official college holiday calendar, and so you have those in your board packet as to which holidays we take.
Any other discussion? Call for the vote.
Tolgetsky?
Yes.
McCain?
Yes.
Watson?
Yes.
Wertz?
Yes.
Hyen?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Rust?
Yes.
Hanfelder?
Yes.
Next item, 2020-2021 academic calendar. Motion to approve.
Sorry. The calendar is subject to ICCB rules, and it says a college will operate on an academic calendar that provides at least 2 academic terms consisting of 15 weeks, each at least 75 days of instruction. So every October, I bring this board item to the board so that we can include it in the college catalog. The calendar changes very little. It changes one day forward, one day backward. So this doesn't present much of a change to you this evening, but I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Need a motion to approve? Bob made the motion to approve. Second?
Second.
Dwight, second. Any other discussion? Call for the vote.
Tolgetsky?
Yes.
Watson?
Yes.
Wertz?
Yes.
Hyen?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Rust?
Yes.
Hanfelder?
Yes.
McCain?
Yes.
Student academic fees.
This again is an October board item, and this is when the program coordinators are asked if they need to increase or decrease student fees. These are lab fees, course fees. What you're seeing tonight, though, is historic, because 20 of the fees that are listed in this board item are decreases. Randy Gallagher, the professor and coordinator of mathematics, working with Pearson, whose My Math Lab provides our students access to an e-text, homework, lots of systems of support online, has decreased 20 of those fees. The other 2 math fees are new courses, so of course I'm asking for fees for the first time. The other standout was occupational therapy assistant. There's a cost for students to participate in a one-day on-campus certification exam preparation course. The cost of the program is $140 per student, so OTA is proposing this evening that that be divided between 2 courses. Any questions?
Motion to approve. Brenda, second?
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any other discussion? Call for the vote.
Tolgetsky?
Yes.
McCain? Yes. Wertz?
Yes.
Pyan?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Rust?
Yes.
Hanfelder?
Yes.
Watson?
Yes.
Next, approval of the Lewis and Clark Facilities Master Plan. Is there a motion to approve? Motion been made to approve. We need a second.
Second.
Okay, now we have discussion or introduction.
Yeah, I would, any questions? I know we brought the ramp document to you before. This is just kind of the next step of that, and really it's to provide you, the board, with that long-range look of where we see our capital project needs being in our current campus facilities. You'll see a lot of end-of-life HVAC systems were included in there, along with those ramp projects that we've discussed previously. So, was there any questions in review of that
Required by
document?
ICCB that we submit this.
Right, and we need to submit that, of course, before our recognition review in November.
I have a question. I noticed that you listed people who had an active part in putting this program together, this either the ramp or this master plan, and my name was on there, and I wasn't asked.
So we list everyone who would have input into these projects, so your votes at meetings in terms of voting for the capital for the project. So we just tried to include everyone who would have any sort of part in any capital renovation project.
Do you include faculty and department heads and stuff in this? They weren't listed on there.
Sure, sure. If you would like your name not to be included in it, we could, of course, do that. We just wanted to recognize our board as playing a role in our long-range facilities master planning.
Okay, but the question I asked, though, do you have instructors and department heads?
Absolutely. A good example of that is our diesel technology program. You've heard Dr. Serwinski talk about that. So, of course, that has involved Chris Reynolds, who is over our automotive technology program, working with architects and working with students to provide input as to what that facility would need to look like for their needs. And a lot of that comes from our program advisory committees that are made up of alumni, students, faculty, high school instructors, and employers working in the field who kind of help us define what our facilities need to do to meet the demands in the workplace.
So this is basically our ramp plan. So, I mean, which was a nice looking document. I thought it was all right. But is this like more for like publication or
Right.
handing out to people?
So just to clarify, the ramp document is something we have to update annually, and you'll see those projects in here. This is just our facilities. So the things like roadway improvements, that's not in here. This is just making sure that we are showing ICCB that we know we have long-range planning needs and that we're taking care of the facilities that we have and have that outlined as what's happening currently, what needs to happen in the next year, and just the 5-year plan. And then, of course, this is a living document. So as we update projects and plans, we can update this and bring it back each time and adopt it and resubmit it to ICCB. So
I noticed there were a lot of matching funds that we had on all of these projects. We had to the taxpayers would be obligated to pay a certain proportion of each construction project, and just concerned about increasing the debt of Lewis and Clark College with regard to these. If the board decides that they don't want to indebt the taxpayers anymore, can you back out of these things?
So we would bring any project that's on this list, we would have to bring to the board for approval prior to letting bids or completing the project. So this is just the planning document, similar to the ramp document. There would never be any obligation to do that. This is just us trying to identify what those capital project needs will be.
It's like a roadmap, that can be changed.
Is this a requirement of the state of Illinois that
Yes.
you do this?
Right.
Yes.
ICC.
Every 5 years.
Illinois Community College Board.
Okay.
At least every 5 years, I should say.
Okay.
Right, exactly.
So we've had a motion on that already and a second, and any further discussion? Call for the vote.
Yes.
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 The next item, approval of changes to personnel policies related to, it looks like that's the Gallagher. It doesn't say it, but that must be the action item. Do you want to withdraw that as a motion, or you want to vote on that?
I think we need to vote on that. 2 months ago, we had this meeting, we had this study done. We had identified the problems, we identified the solutions, and we wanted to stop the bleeding of people. And since then, we've just had another list of people leave those departments, and I think we got to take action and not delay this anymore. These people want an answer, and we deserve them to pay them. They're underpaid. We need to bring their pay up. And I think we need to take that action tonight, and this study we paid for take place. I think holding these people off and saying, well, we'll get it next month, well, it's been 2 months. It's going to be 9 months, 90 days. It's time to take action. I will make that motion.
The report was that it was an incomplete report, and now it's being completed, and I think Mr. Rust reported that we would implement this in November. But okay, you don't want to withdraw it. Okay, you make a motion to approve this?
Yes, it is.
Second? Brenda seconds. Any other discussion? Call for the vote.
Tolgetsky?
Yes.
Wertz?
Yes.
McCain?
Yes.
Hyan?
No.
Johnson?
No.
Rust?
No.
Hanfelder?
No.
Watson?
Yes.
Next item, change November board meeting date.
We have to change the date from the 12th to the 7th to allow for enough days between the November meeting and the December meeting, the 30-day period required for levy issues.
And what is that new date?
November 7th.
Motion to change the board meeting date. Bob makes the motion. Is there a second? Brenda made the second. Any further discussion? Call for the vote.
Tolgetsky?
Yes.
Watson?
Yes.
McCain?
Yes.
Wertz?
Yes.
Hyan?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Rust?
Yes.
Hanfelder?
Yes.
Last item here is the action on whether to extend President Dale Chapman's employment agreement, which expires on June 30th, 2020, and to provide Dr. Chapman with written notice of the board's intention regarding same. Is that appropriate? We're talking about extending it, not renegotiating. That's what the action item says.
She made the motion, so.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Any further discussion? Call for the vote.
Tolgetsky?
Yes.
McCain?
Yes.
Wertz?
Yes.
Hyan?
No.
Johnson?
No.
Rust?
No.
Hanfelder?
No.
Watson?
Yes.
Motion failed. Is there a motion to extend his contract or not extend it? Is there a motion to that? Well, I had one here someplace.
Yes, I move that we not approve the extension of President Dale Chapman's employment agreement expiring June 30th, 2020, and to authorize Chairman David Hine to provide Dr. Chapman written notice of the board's intention before October 31st, 2019.
It's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Call for the vote.
Tolgetsky?
Ed, let's explain it here. Again, it's if you vote the motion, read the motion one more time.
Motion to not approve,
To not approve.
et cetera.
Okay. Okay. Call for the vote.
Tolgetsky?
No.
Rust?
Yes.
Hanfelder?
Yes.
Watson?
No.
McCain?
No.
Wertz?
No.
Hyan?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Okay, that concludes all the business here, so this meeting stands adjourned.
Chairman, I'd like to just make a comment. I would like to thank all the supporters that came out to see Dr. Chapman. I'd like to thank the 650 members of the Growth Association, the Lewis and Clark Foundation Board, all the business people that took ads out in the newspapers. And the only thing I'm going to say is this board was always a nonpartisan board. We left our politics at the door. And we didn't care, and nor do we ask what somebody else's politics are. And my own problem is that this new administration has brought politics into this board, and you can thank the Madison County Republican Party who supported them, what ads, social media, and my thought is just remember the next election comes around.